Okay, I'm good. I'm set. It's a Monday morning, and I already have anger. I don't know why, because we all know what's going to happen. But over the weekend, in case some people missed it, and Andrew Garfield's stunt double from the Amazing Spider-Man films, his Instagram, I don't know if it was hacked, if he's shared it all himself or something happened, but we've got photos of this particular stunt actor on the Spider-Man Far From Home, No Way Home set, as well as other Spider-Man related pictures. Like he had a picture of the Far From Home poster. Stunt guys, they don't necessarily always do stunts for the same person. They do stunts for multiple people. They do come in and do things like stunt consults, and hey, if you're going to do this is how I would do it, and this is how we did it when I did something similar. But I mean, we've all expected to see more than Holland and the MCU in this, whether or not it's legitimately the Amazing Spider-Man Andrew Garfield versus some other multiverse version. I don't fucking know. But it's been over 30 seconds. Thank goodness. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to LRMornings. I started off bitching about Sony. I'm Kyle, joined by
Manny, of course.
And what do you think about the pictures, man? Pretty much solidifies Garfield's going to be in the movie, or is it, like I said, he's just a stunt guy that's there?
That guy's work on so many films, man. Until I see it in a trailer or something.
Yeah.
See Garfield in there, I'm not worried about it.
Nick had a theory, and I think Shockey kind of backed this theory, I guess you could say, and that's the characters we're gonna see are familiar, but not necessarily from their universe. I don't know if I actually buy that. I honestly believe, I don't think it's going to be a full-on live-action Spider-Verse movie. I think it's going to be similar to what Nick said, where you're going to get glimpses of the other universes possibly, but they're not going to play as big a role as some people think. I don't think this is going to be live-action Spider-Verse. Do you? I still think it's going to be Tom Holland's movie.
No, it's definitely going to be Tom Holland's movie. I don't... There is really no money, I think, into bringing back the other guys. Plus, it sounds like it'd be expensive. And to be honest, I wouldn't give Sony that much credit. Mm-hmm. Based on what they've done so far, they wouldn't do a multiverse like that, where all of a sudden they're going to have Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, even bringing in Miles Morales Spider-Man and whatnot. I think it's a little too ambitious for Sony for what they do.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of funny. Something I talk about a lot and movie business is the old studio mentality versus new studio mentality. We all know, well, not all of us, but those of us that are movie buffs usually know about history of Hollywood. You used to have these studio contracts with everybody from an actor to a producer, and it's literally like, you belong, you're gonna write, direct, produce, and act, and nothing but MGM for the next 8 years, right? Marvel, they make a 9-picture contract, but you can go do other things during that time. Warner Brothers and Fox, before they got bought, were two of the oldest remaining classics, and they still had some of those issues. For example, I know we're both dudes, but I feel like it was highly inappropriate to look at Anne Hathaway in Batman: The Dark Knight, where she even spoke about. I don't know if she was told or requested. She specifically mentioned losing weight for the role, right? And Anne Hathaway's a very attractive young lady. Well, she's not young. She's my age. She's a very attractive lady in every movie I've ever seen. And to hear her talk about losing weight was kind of weird. But then you looked at Scarlett Johansson in Avengers, for example. She said she wasn't told to lose weight. They basically fitted her for what she was. And that's one of those old studio things. Sony is similar, right? They got that old studio. It's money. We know what's best because we're the execs. I get that feeling every time a producer or hire speaks at Sony, don't you?
Well, I'm not sure. I think they're just trying to find that golden egg, and I think even with Spider-Man, they haven't necessarily been able to tap it the way they've wanted to. I have no issue with the studio or producer or director asking an actor to either gain weight or lose weight because it's part of their vision. I mean, hell, we've seen Matthew McConaughey do it both ways, up and down. It almost seems unhealthy.
Was there a reason? Because she almost looked unhealthy and incapable. Almost. I know there are lots of very, very thin, like a martial arts guy. Not Jackie Chan, not Bruce Lee. There you go. Bruce Lee. Mm-hmm. Very thin. If you saw him with clothes on, you would not think there was. I beat his ass. He's tight. No, he's pure muscle. So yeah, you are right. But in general, people that would have done what Catwoman would have done would have at least had some thicker legs for all the jumping and rolling and crawling and climbing. You know what I'm saying? It seemed one of those times where an old-fashioned studio was like, no, 80s super thin models, do it now. It wasn't necessarily, but that's kind of how I took it when it was looking over at Marvel and seeing Scarlett not ever once in the MCU films do I think I saw her drastically over or under weights that I had seen her before or in normal person, just like out and about in between films. I don't know. I've got a bias against Sony for certain. I fear, like you said, they're searching for a golden egg, right? And they can't find it. And I think that's on them because they just don't know how to let go of the old ways and listen to your fans and not just your execs, right? And that includes the creatives. That includes the writers and directors when they go, Sony, this, like when Raimi said, Venom's not going to work. And they were like, no, do it anyways. That type of thing.
I at this point with Sony, I really don't know what to make of what they're doing just because of because it then they start developing projects like Madam Web and everything else that a detective Aunt May or whatever, and it's like, what do you do you guys even have a plan? Like what's the deal? And at this point, I honestly there are some times, and here's the thing, I hate the Overlord mouse. I mean, just because of how big they are. I just want to point that out.
I can get that. Absolutely.
But at the same time, when it comes to Spider-Man, at this point, I kind of wish they would Bruce Wayne it and just buy Sony so that they can get Spider-Man back and then maybe sell it. So, just because I think that under 100% under their control, it'd be such a better property. Which is, I mean, now why? At least I'm excited to see what their vision is going to be for Fantastic Four and X-Men and things like that. So,
and Miss Marvel, believe it or not, I've been a a bit of a what some might call a Miss Marvel detractor. I often bring her book up as an example of when comic companies are making PR choices. Her book will not do so well, and they'll cancel a book that sells more, but keep hers around. I got it. I get it. Tracking, but her character, when they first announced her coming over, I was like, that's a perfect replacement for our Peter Parker if we lose him. She's a fangirl. She's younger, just like Tom Holland's Peter Parker. He's a fan of the Avengers. He was younger, brings in a different point of view. And like I said, I'm not necessarily the biggest Kamala Khan fan comic-wise. I didn't mind her in the Avengers game because you don't have to use her through the whole thing. But even her as the story device was fine and actually better than the comics. So I'm happy to see it because we definitely know we're headed towards some sort of young Avengers, young new Warriors, something, right? We're getting a young team. I just think it's going to end up being a Disney Plus thing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it would be a Disney Plus thing. It should be. It should be easily accessible by kids everywhere. And where you're going to get them the most access, it's going to be on Disney Plus, not necessarily a feature film. You want them to be able to go on it and be able to watch it over and over again. So I think it's the perfect platform because there is no more Fox Saturday morning cartoons or shows. There is no more kids WB in the afternoons that we grew up with. So right now, the only place to put them is streaming services. So,
well, let me ask you this then: the way you just kind of mentioned it, kind of tickled my brain. First off, I think I just came up with a new segment for Mondays, which will be Movie Business Monday segment, where we talk about the business side of things, which we did a little bit. So it's segment covered, but the Young Avengers, New Warriors, whatever we end up calling them, I almost like the idea of that being a known ongoing series, like you said, to replace that kind of Saturday morning cartoon thing. How would you feel about that a Young Avengers MCU canon that does like what Shield was supposed to do, be a multi-season thing? I actually really like that. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I think you start off with Miss Marvel, and then you go on with maybe a Nova, and then you move on to what's another young guy? I don't know. Introduce it.
You've got Hawkeye's girl, Kate Bishop.
Oh yeah, Kate Bishop and
Wiccan and Speed could potentially come back. Hulkling, isn't he rumored to actually be a part of the MCU already?
I'm not sure.
And he's half Kree, if I'm not mistaken. Hulkling.
Heck, you get if you want notoriety, and I know it doesn't work anymore because I think he's going to be older, unless it depends where you put the film. But you can put a young Groot in that that teenage Groot in the mix.
Yeah,
and that would make it that would instantly make it a favorite just because the recognition of a young Groot.
Yeah. Here's the cool thing about Hulkling, and like I said, I do think he's been rumored or mentioned something about him. Okay, he's a Kree Skrull hybrid. I knew there was some Kree in there. In the comics, at one point, I'm not sure if it's still an ongoing relationship, but he was in a relationship with Wiccan in the comics at one point. So definitely, the characters are there. There's story there. The reason why I brought that up, and I'm glad you agree that it would do amazing as a series, is I think it was Nick I was arguing with maybe, and I was like, I don't necessarily think most of us, our age, the youngest Xers and the older millennials, basically like 75 to 80, 85, we'll say that. I don't know necessarily that we will identify with the young Avengers as much as we have the new Avengers. And even with some of these young Avengers not being contemporary creations, being, older creations, the stories and adventures that they have, while comic geeks might still get a kick out of it, the average person, your I don't want to call them normies, but your casual, there's the word, your casual moviegoer, I don't know if they're going to necessarily get that, but on a Disney Plus series, like you said, with kids, and now you're like, oh, I don't have to go to the theater for this. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit, PG more than I like my MCU, but I think Young Avengers would be an amazing series to do.
Well, the thing is, and this is something I think some of us getting a little bit older now, and I talk like we're that.
Yeah, I know.
But it's something that we do need to realize is that cartoons are not made for us. Not this round of cartoons. Different. We grew up in different times. We, a lot of us grew up in the 90s. Times were very different. I mean, these were times where if you wanted to talk to a girl, you actually had to pick up a phone and call the house.
Oh man, dude, you remember?
Yeah.
This is a phone with a cord.
Yeah, a phone with the wall, cord,
and you're like, oh god.
And then you
her dad picks up, and you're like, nope.
Her dad or her brother picks up, and you have to be super cool about it. Yeah, and then there was no sliding into DMs. There was none of that. You actually had to put effort into there was
human contact.
The human, yeah. And then I think my favorite thing also was growing up is when you told your friends you were meeting them at the theater at 7, you met them at the theater at 7. There was no where you at or nothing. It was because you got dropped off and there was no cell phone to help you out.
Yeah.
You made plans and you stuck to them.
Punctuality.
Anyway, so my point is, this generation of kids is not the same as the last one. I mean, it happens just because times change.
Yeah.
Culture changes, technology changes, which in turn changes everything. So, I mean, the experiences kids are going through now are not the same ones that we went to. Sure, there's similar themes, but the path is different. So the cartoons are going to be different, which is why sometimes when I see a cartoon, when I see an animated series for kids nowadays that I don't really resonate with, I'm not supposed to. I have to remember that. It's not for me. But on the internet, I see a lot of hate sometimes where it's like Teen Titans Go really sucks or whatever. It's like first of all, the show's amazing, but if you look at the other kinds of cartoons out there like The Loud House and whatever else is, I don't watch too much.
Fairly Odd Parents back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you realize, it's for kids. Like my daughter loved the Teen Titans Go. Mm-hmm. So
Lucas.
It's not for us. And that's okay because we have other shows that are made for us. Mm-hmm. and just enjoy it for what it is, and also just know that it's that kind of shows that usually is a gateway for kids to continue on with superheroes, continue on with becoming bigger fans of the properties, and maybe and dare we say it, they'd pick up a comic book.
Oh my goodness, that would just be what a thing. It's funny you bring up the kid aspect of it, because my son, it's an interesting situation. He's got some behavioral health issues. He's not on the spectrum, but he's got things that are similar, but he's got other things. Anyways, he can be a handful, but he's super fucking smart, advanced. He's like on like fourth grade reading level and first grade and like second grade. He's smart, right? We never watched Bubble Guppies, no Doc McStuffins, no the closest to the sharing, caring preschool whole type shows we got. He watched about a year of Sesame Street. I almost feel bad, but at the same time, what he did watch was Ninja Turtles classic and 2012 series. He watched the real Ghostbusters cartoon. Teen Titans Go was his shit. He used to just call it Go. And he would hear the music, and he could be in his room, and he'd hear the music and come running for it. And it's Cartoon Network. They showed Teen Titans Go like 10 times in a row. And then it's like 5 episodes of Gumball, and then more Teen Titans Go. So it was great. And but those cartoons like Gumball and Teen Titans, they understand their audience quite well, and in those cases, there are some things for the parents, for me and you to get and laugh at. But you're right, that doesn't happen nearly as much as it did in the 80s and 90s. Look at Animaniacs. That's a prime example of, we know parents hate watching most cartoons, so here's the Animaniacs and the Tiny Toons filled with inappropriate humor that goes over the kid's head, but the parents can get a kick out of it. They don't do that because kids now have access to smartphones, and all of those jokes that used to go over the head can now be looked up real quick. I think that's why we see more kiddie friendly only cartoons. What do you think? Does their access to info play a factor in that?
I don't think so. I just think that we're too freaking PC. That's really what it is. We're so afraid of our own goddamn shadows nowadays that everything has to be, oh my god, kids are over here shooting each other and killing prostitutes in Grand Theft Auto 5, but Pepe Le Pew's the problem.
Yeah.
And then Speedy Gonzalez is the problem, and Gina Carano is the problem, and
I don't want to get too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is back then, there's a ton, I think, of shows that you can look at episodes of what we grew up with that would absolutely get murdered as far as Twitter and the whole cancel culture thing.
Scrubs, How I Met Your Mother, Friends, like all these shows that were Seinfeld, like even some of these shows have already had episodes taken off of streaming services, and
right.
And it's like context, people, context. Like you gotta accept some context. You gotta understand historical context. And I wasn't saying that I didn't want to get too political to cut you off. I was going to say I don't want to get too political on this as far as picking a sides type thing or making it about a sides type thing, because it's not at all. Like you said, some people get really itchy at the mention of the phrase PC or SJW or anything, because like any word out there, it can eventually be used as an insult. Look at my son, for example, right? Behavioral health issues. Look at all the words society has had to go through for those. Even scientific terms were eventually deemed, that's not nice. And it's like, but that's the medical term. What else am I supposed to say? I kind of lightly brought up the point the way I did, and I'm glad you said it, because I agree that that's the primary cause. In the original Animaniacs, great scene. The Warner Brothers and sisters are on a cruise ship doing detective work, and Yakko asks Dot to finger for Prince, and she picks up Prince, the singer artist, and she's like, I found him, and he's like, no, fingerprints, and she's like, I don't think so. And it's just like, it's just like, I love it. It's such a great moment. And because of, like you said, PC, but it's more than that originally. It almost goes back to post World War II when we created a new type of human, the teenager. You look throughout human history. My wife brought it up. We had this conversation yesterday. Things from I'm going to say it wrong. Please say the 15th birthday for girls in Mexican. Thank you. I speech. Sweet 16s. Bar mitzvahs. Countless cultures that of natives and indigenous peoples across the planet that I can't come up with. Some as young as like 11 to 12, but almost every society by 16, adult. You know, even in America, up until after World Wars I and II, it was pretty much 13, 14, adult. And then all of a sudden, we didn't need our kids to do that. They could focus on school instead and become adults later. And that really kind of threw a wrench in things because that's not how humans really are, right? And that all kind of feeds into, like you said, the changes in culture, society, and time as it goes on, and what people can take. And there's this word I always use besides consistency, and it's resiliency. I think the MCU has been doing a great job at showing resiliency as a need, a necessity. Tony's PTSD, Peter's, stuff dealing with Mysterio and Far From Home, Falcon and Winter Soldier. You saw it, you liked it. They are clearly going to be going into some racial issues, especially in Sam's personal life. And all of that, again, is just great, natural. You see where it's going, storytelling. It's doing all this great stuff. But these younger kids, they don't have that resilience if something doesn't go their way. We when we created teenagers, we took away responsibility and we gave them all this free time, and we've got the results. And one of the things you said about PC, I think it goes to historical context, right? Look at back to movie business. Gone with the Wind had its controversy a little bit ago because it finally hit a streaming service, and it's like, we got it. There's by today's standards a lot of issues with that movie, but it also had the first African American to win an Oscar in it, and it's an interesting thing. It's a meme, but it is an interesting thing. Talking Gina Carano, PC again. We saw the removal of Uncle Ben, Aunt Jemima, the Land of Lakes, Native American, all from the packaging. And in theory, we understand why. But then when you look at the supermarket now, your Quaker Oats still has the white guy on. There's still a bunch of white people on these packages. And it was like, we got what you were going for, but I don't think you guys quite realize what you actually did. And the worst or funniest meme at the same time is that Land of Lakes. It's like, look, white people again took the land, or removed the Native American and kept the land. So it's a weird thing with the youth today, and I worry this, Manny. Most you and I in our youth, we don't have a lot of stuff online, right? There's not a lot of videos or audio of the stupid shit we did because we didn't have these, right? But I just find it, for years we've looked at somebody, oh, you fucked up at 16, okay, you're 25, you've lived a good life, carry on. And the lack of resiliency to these days is so bad that people can't even cope with a show or movie existing that is something they don't like. Don't watch it.
Absolutely. And the thing is, you brought up a point with Gone with the Wind. It has, what you were saying earlier, with historical context, with, I mean, and unfortunately that is the way they lived in those times. That's not, you know,
there's no glorification of it.
Yeah.
It's not excusing. It's just a period piece.
Right. But you know, you see period pieces like that made still nowadays, but obviously from different points of views and different storylines. So do those have to get taken down too? And so it's like there's no end to it. Like where does it, where do you end? And then it just seems like after a while it starts becoming almost petty instead of actually necessary. There are some things. There's some things, absolutely. I know that Magic the Gathering had a couple of cards that they took out of circulation, and I was like, I was like, you know what, man? Like, how bad could these cards? And then I go look them up. I was like, oh, never mind. Yeah, go ahead, take off the white hooded guys off of circulation. You know, that's just one example, but yeah. It's strange, but. And it's weird to think about it, and maybe this is me just being old and saying back in my day, but I don't know if what the intention is now with kids shows, because it seems like the only point of a kid show nowadays usually is entertainment,
distraction,
just distraction, bright colors, and to distract you. Because if you think about it, we had. In the 90s, we had a fantastic show, the Batman, the animated series, that had so much depth into it that they still talk about it to this day.
Yeah.
And it's still super popular and it's seen as almost the absolute. You had X-Men, Spider-Man, which, again, layers and layers on characters that to this day is because why so many people love it. So, I mean... You don't necessarily see that anymore. You see just in kids shows very, very cookie cutter storylines, not real depth in characters, and
not
just
even lessons anymore. Once you get past those pre-K shows, the moral lessons and things that you used to get out of a Saturday morning cartoon, whether it was the real Ghostbusters teaching you the value of teamwork, or Transformers Generation 1 teaching you hell, even back then G.I. Joe and Transformers dealt with stuff dealing with social issues with race or unfair treatment of people by authority and shit, you know? They don't do that as much. And I wonder why. Part of it, I think, is the divisiveness, and everyone is so afraid of that Twitter mob. Look, Gina Carano's episode of whatever Bear Grylls thing is won't air on Disney Plus. Warner Brothers went ahead and took her from the Fast and Furious franchise, and in my mind, I'm like, all the last 5 years, we've heard hyperbole from a particular side using the name of the very, very bad man from World War II. Constantly. We heard references to the very, very bad places from World War II with some of the holding centers for people coming across the southern border. It's all hyper. I use hyperbole all the time. Look, like the beginning of the show, talking about fuck Sony. I hate. Am I really that upset? No, I would, if I was that way, guys, for real all the time, I would have died from a heart attack or a stroke, you know, because Sony really does suck. but that resiliency, that whole key thing of learning something and getting something out of it, man. I do my, like I said, I almost felt guilty that my son didn't watch all those kids shows, but at the same time, the shows I showed him had those lessons in them that you and I grew up with. So I kind of think maybe I made the better choice.
Yeah, so I mean, so all this really to say that you know, if Marvel Studios decides to go that route,
Yeah,
we may not resonate with the shows.
we might not.
And that's okay. And
Yeah.
that's really okay because it's not for us. They have a plethora of more content for us to enjoy. So, you know, don't go all crazy on the internet when.
And that's the smart thing about it. Because like I brought up to, I can't remember who I was talking to. I was like, I don't know if it'll make the money they want at the theaters, guys. I don't know if enough people will resonate. And I was told I was wrong. But it's nice to hear that somebody else thinks of the same possibility. Because again, it's like you said, all about relation, and parents will more likely get something out of it with their kids, even if it's not from the show. It's the fact, dude, you got a kid, I got a kid. It's awesome just to sit down and watch a show together and laugh at the same time. You build a memory, and you will forever love that show, even if you don't give two fucks about the story or characters.
Absolutely, I have such great memories with the shows that she watched. Even though I hate, oh god, Yo Gabba Gabba is one of them that we grew up with that she loved. I mean, she dressed up as Broby, and then you mentioned another one that she just adored, and that was Doc McStuffins. Mm. But it's something that I sat with her, and her little eyes were all gleaming and whatever, and it was fun. And now we just got through watching WandaVision together. We would get up early on Friday morning to watch it, and then she connecting the dots with Age of Ultron and stuff, and with Endgame.
How old is she?
That was she's 10.
Nice, very cool.
So it's so it was really nice to see her like put it all together and be very excited for it, and then be as disappointed as I was in the end. And so you know, but it's not even about the show, it's about the time that we spent together geeking out about superheroes and fantasy places. And you know, and Marvel characters are perfect for that because their characters were made to be relatable.
Yes.
You know, DC characters were created you know, earlier when you needed more of a almost like an Olympus type gods to really give you that sense of hope, like a Superman, you know. And then Marvel came along and it gave you X-Men and gave you Spider-Man and things like that, Spidey, relating to, you know, immigrants and the teenager that you said was created. So different characters fill different needs, different voids, and that's totally okay.
Yep. It goes back to something you and I have said and about escapism versus seeking out relatable stories. You know, you got properties that were designed for pure escapism, and in those properties contemporary messaging doesn't work, and it pisses off fans because they're like, I don't want the real world in this. I want to get away from the real world. DC, Marvel was always about the real. That was Stan's vision. Make it real. You know, real with superpowers. And you know, we're looking at Falcon and Winter Soldier coming up, where definitely race has got some things to play. I think some people, I don't know why they seem so happy about the idea that somehow the blip caused nothing but angry, evil racist people to be in charge, but I see Sam's past and his present and his experiences with race being that messaging, that race thing that is happening, and that contemporary messaging, and it's perfect. It's great so long as they do it the right way. Because I brought up to Nick, you can't all of a sudden just have in the MCU you've had Nick Fury as the head of the Shield and Rhodey as the head of the military base, or the face of the military. Basically, you have to do more to explain if you're going to go with all of a sudden America doesn't want a black Captain America. You have to explain it more because you haven't established that type of issue in the MCU. However, all of the stuff with Sam's personal life, definitely 100% from growing up in Louisiana in the South, stuff he could have faced in the military as he's trying to make it through ranks, trying to make it as a para-rescuer. All of those contemporary messages are there. I know there's like two sides on this Falcon and Winter Soldier thing. There's already a group that is like, it's too SJW. They're trying to have this, and I'm like, guys, relax. I don't think it's gonna go the way you guys think it is. And then there's this other side on the opposite extreme where they're like, I can't wait to see America be the bad guy, and they don't want a black Captain America. And I'm to them, I'm like, well, hold on again. That's not exactly what you guys are gonna. So both of you guys, calm down. We're going to see an amazing story about something that and I got to make an additional fucking hashtag and shout out to guys like Sonny Johnson, Felicia Killings, Jeff Charles. We are getting a marquee, A-list, millions and millions of dollars spent, great, outstanding, positive, no stereotype, no sacrifices, no, we are getting a black dude front and center, name on the marquee, something Hollywood has had issues doing, and it's freaking brilliant, and it's everything Stan would have wanted. Do you agree?
Yep, I agree. The only thing I disagree with is I don't think that for Sam Wilson it'd be that difficult to get a loan. I think he could. I think there's some people he can call where he can get a loan. It's just I get what they're
that storyline. Yeah,
I get what they're doing, but at the same time, I was like, you're just trying the local bank. I was like, okay.
You can do better than that.
You can. I know the head of a place called Stark Industries.
Right.
I know I know you know a general named Rhodey.
Yep.
I know it's just I'm just don't give me. I mean, you know
the cats in Wakanda.
The leaders of there's ways you can get a loan, help. Man.
Yeah.
And so don't give me. Again, I know I get what they're doing. I get what they're saying, but at the same time, don't tell me that he can fly and that he can fight helicopters and missiles in the air, but then he can't get a loan. Don't do that.
It was an interesting scene because you saw what Disney was attempting to do. They were attempting to make a contemporary comment on the difficulty that minorities can face getting loans because of institutionalized thoughts, things that deal with redlining. There's a lot of history, guys. Fuck, I could talk demographics, redlining, and history and all that. But that scene was almost uncomfortable because you saw what the writers kind of wanted to do. But again, in the MCU, we assume that indeed up until we see Iron Man, right, that they They had a 60s civil rights movement. They had a civil war, slavery. We expect that their world's history is very similar to ours. So all the things they need to do it was a retcon for Cap to do the Isaiah Bradley bit, but it worked. It fit. It made sense. The Tuskegee Airmen experiments, real thing. MCU created their own version of it. I can't wait for that scene, that realization when Sam goes, Captain America was a black man first. It's I can be Captain, because I honestly think I don't think people are taking it as serious as he says it. I don't think he really believes he deserves it. Just like in an Endgame, it feels like it belongs to someone else. I think in his heart of hearts, he doesn't feel worthy, potentially more than likely connected to some stuff from his past, racial stuff, but you're not going to see all of a sudden only weak-willed people and racists were left during the blip and they took over. But I loved it. I thought it was great, and I'm excited to see more. Can you think of a better property than Marvel Comics that was ever created to give us an outlet for our real life issues in a fantastic setting? I can't think of one.
No, not really. I think that it's decades of storylines that really back that up, which is why that answer is not really. No other property has the length of storylines to and then you have the array of writers and artists with different experiences from different decades, adding to the characters' legacies to fit the current conversations. And that's what Marvel has done for decades, and that's why it's resonated so well. I mean, hell, just X-Men in the immigrant commentary, or just Captain America, and as being for hope and he's funny because he's always been Captain America, but he's never necessarily been as far as the government. He represents the people of America.
Yeah, after World War II. Yeah,
right. Which is what I always find really, really interesting. So yeah, I mean, and then Sam's message it resonates with everyone. Sometimes you don't feel worthy of what you're doing. Sometimes you feel like you're not enough, and when as a matter of fact, you were part of saving the universe. You were part of that group. But because of what society has told you can and cannot be, you still don't feel like you should be there.
Yeah.
So it's a very, I think it's done very, very well.
Yep.
And it's something that I think only a Marvel show can do.
Right.
You're right. Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe in that whole as a white guy or as a dude you can't talk about certain subjects, but I want to make sure I didn't lose it. When it comes to minorities and these films and relating with those experiences, I think in my mind, it's better to see this be very, very centered on Sam and his life versus, because like I said, it doesn't fit the MCU as they've set it up, versus all of a sudden America just doesn't want a black captain. It would be cheap writing, and it takes away from him. It's his story, his experiences, his history. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want to see anything taken from Sam in this show, because it's such a is it not a very, very deep personal thing when you experience that type of bigotry related to how you were born? Not saying that you've necessarily dealt with it, but just out there, you know?
It's really important because it speaks to the fact that it doesn't matter what you do or how far ahead you get in life, how successful you are, your status, whether you're a gardener or whether you are an Avenger. The problem is that there are some people in this country, in this world, that still see color first, and still see the race first. See, you know, and that should be impactful because that's really the way it is, unfortunately, in a lot of cases. Some, like, I live in California, so I don't necessarily see it as often, but I am told that there's other parts in the country where they're like, nope, that is still front and center in some areas. And so, it's unfortunately, it's a message that still needs to be talked about.
Oh yeah, and this is a great place to do it, and a great character to do it with. I was telling Nick, it's kind of funny how comic accurate the last two shows have actually been, as far as when they take from the comics. We are getting a lot of 616 straight up, like, it's all awesome, even though I think part of the reason they did that is all of the mixing of Ultimate and 616 that they did to get the MCU established. Now they're able to, I guess, mislead us more by going with things that we think we know and then changing them ever so slightly. But yeah, it's great. So, wow, what a Monday morning, man. We've been all over. I have no idea even what I'm going to end up titling this, but it's been a great time. I do believe we're going to see Maguire and Garfield on Spider-Man. How much? Don't know. I will say this, after WandaVision, we should all temper our expectations on No Way Home and really realize that the next part of Wanda's story is Doc Strange. So, and then we got to talk a bit about some politics, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and some movie business. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great. Manny, any last words or anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, I think that's a good place to cut it.
Good. You guys know what to do. LRMonline.com. Every day. Check out the podcast channel. It's the LRM Online Podcast Network. You can find it, just LRM Podcasts. We're everywhere. Subscribe, follow on the apps like Spotify and SoundCloud, all that good stuff. And of course the YouTube channel. Manny, Gig, Nancy, others kicking ass, giving you guys insider access to A-list celebrities, writers, directors, producers. Guys, we have Deborah Snyder, right? Deborah Snyder. We have Jen Schaefer from WandaVision. Look, I'm not even going to go over it all. Current, relative, top tier, LRM Online. Do it. Subscribe, share us with your friends. LRMornings is video now. Obviously, I'm going to be bringing more videos to you guys, more live shows, and as Shockey hinted during our live Justice League review, that we are going to be giving these podcasts kind of their own network, the Genreverse, brought to you by LRM Online. So be on the lookout for some new graphics and stuff like that. And Manny, do some selfless or some shameless self-promotion.
You can find me on Twitter at LRM_Emmanuel, and then you could also find me on Instagram at riddlemethis_510.
You got it this time. Way to go. What's the
I had 2 hours of sleep last time.
Can't unless it's like PII. What is the 510 for?
What is the what?
personal identifiable information, like if it,
the 510.
yeah.
Oh, that's my hometown zip code. I'm from.
Oh,
I grew up
cool.
in. I was born in Oakland and raised in Berkeley. So that's what it is.
So, are you a Raiders fan? Or do you not care for
No,
football?
no. As soon as they left to
Okay.
Las Vegas, I was said, screw them because of
I
the
can't
years of
stick 'em
punishment
with
that
it.
we had to put through.
I know.
All only for them to have to go to Vegas. Which, by the way, I don't blame them because
Yeah.
Oakland didn't necessarily do anything for them
No.
to get new stadium. But at
And-
the same time, screw them.
I hated. It was sad when Al Davis died, of course, right?
Mhm.
But as a Raiders fan, I couldn't help but be like, it's very sad. I feel bad for fans, friends, and family. But Al always thought he could buy a Super Bowl with a single pick during the draft and would do
The fastest guy.
stupid fucking trades
Mhm.
and never build a team around someone. And so, anyways, yeah, you guys can find me at that Kyle Malone, where despite the obvious geekiness, I can also talk a little football, but I can talk hockey all day long. If you guys want to do any of that, I'm at that Kyle Malone on Twitter, at that one Kyle Malone on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for listening today. We'll talk to you tomorrow.